Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. We're talking week 5 preview. Listen, Tom, it's been crazy the first 4 weeks. It's been injuries. It's been uncertainty. It's been a lot of 4-0 teams, a lot of 0-4 teams. We are breaking down week 5. What's going on, Tom?
What's going on? Yeah, 4 weeks in. That's what we said. Sample size, 25% of the season. You start to see if players, what the players, how they're playing like. You knocked off some rust from no preseason. And in a normal season, 4 weeks is really, you really start to see if teams are any good.
Yeah, exactly. And, I got to talk about 4 teams. And we're going to go to every single team and break it down from the spreads to the matchups to who we think could potentially win. But before we do that, I want to talk about 4 teams that really kind of get my attention this year. And that's the Packers, that's the Seahawks, that's the Chiefs, and that's the Bills. Those teams, I got to ask you, man, are those teams for real, first of all?
Well. Listen, Buffalo Bills. I want you to understand something about the Buffalo Bills. They did something similar to this last year, and then they just couldn't get over that hump. Remember, they couldn't really beat the Patriots.
Right.
So I want you to really look at the Buffalo Bills' next 5 games.
Okay.
Really need to look at their next 5 games. The Buffalo Bills, they play at the Titans, at home against the Chiefs on a Thursday night, short rest. At the Jets, gimme. Patriots, Seahawks. We will know in 5 weeks if the Buffalo Bills are for real.
Can we learn earlier? We can probably learn earlier. 2 more games, and then we're 6-0.
Listen, if they go 1-4, they haven't improved that much. Allen has improved, but these next 5 weeks, I mean, you can take the Jets out of the equation, obviously.
That's a gimme.
But I mean, listen, Titans are, the Titans, the Chiefs, the Patriots, Seahawks. You got the Titans, who are a tough team. I don't think they're elite. You got the Seahawks elite. Patriots with Cam. I mean, I don't know. Stephon Gilmore just tested positive this morning. So maybe that factors into some things. And you got the Chiefs. So let's see. Listen, if they beat the Chiefs, if their only wins against the Jets and the Chiefs, I'll say they've improved. But I don't know if they'll beat the Seahawks. Maybe they'll beat the Seahawks and the Patriots, lose to the Chiefs. So we'll kind of get an idea over the next month or so how good the Buffalo Bills really are.
And you got to give an honorable mention to those Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to have to see what they're all made out of. They're 3-0 right now. Going to be another team to watch for sure.
It's funny you say that. The Bills, right?
Yeah.
Still have to play at the 49ers, the Steelers at home, and then the Patriots, obviously, they play them twice towards the end of the season. So they have a tough schedule. We'll know, how good the Bills are going into the playoffs, but over the next few weeks, we'll start. You're right. If they get blown out by the Chiefs 45-10, or maybe they lose by 1, you start to get an idea. I think they'll beat the Titans. I think they'll, I don't know about the Chiefs. Let's take it one step at a time.
All right, let's go through the matchups here. Let's start off with a Thursday night football game. We got the Buccaneers versus the Bears. Buccaneers sitting at a 4.5 favorite, understandably so. It looks like Tom Brady's into his groove. O.J. Howard banged up. O.J. Howard out for the season. I don't know if that's going to be a huge factor. Tore his Achilles, gone for the season. We've had Godwin who's been banged up. Mike Evans. I still like the team. I still think they're going to be really good. I still think they're going to be solid. Now, if you look at a team like the Bears, who are 3-1, Buccaneers 3-1, the Buccaneers on the road favored at 4.5. So clearly, obviously, Vegas not thinking that the Bears are the real deal. Similar to what I think. I don't think they're the real deal either. We got Nick Foles coming in. And watching the Bears play, it seemed like a very, very safe type of gameplay. I don't see any big plays downfield. I don't see any explosive plays out of the backfield. I see a very safe and boring team that kind of just moves the ball up the field. With Buccaneers, you got that big playability. You got Tom Brady. Buccaneers should win this. What are your thoughts on this game here?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Tampa Bay should win it. I think also, I don't know if Vegas cares, but I think the general public and the hype is always on Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. I mean, they are 3-1 this year. O.J. Howard, they'll miss him a little bit. Brady loves his tight ends. Gronk's, he's going to have to step up now. He hasn't played well, but he's done what he's been asked to do. So I don't want to say he hasn't played well, but he's got to step up a little bit now. They had a good running week last week. The Bears have a good defense. So the Bears' goal in this game is to keep this maybe 21-17, somewhere in that range. The Bears aren't scoring a lot of points, okay? Yep. But we did say that about the Chargers last week. Tampa Bay has a good D. And see, the Chargers they had a pick six. Brady was his second of the year, maybe. they had a pick six, second or third. They had a pick six, and then they had two big plays, a 50 and a 70-yard touchdown. So all you need is a couple big plays. Foles to Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, one of those guys. Bears are going to have to get a big play, and their defense has to keep them in it. But I'm going Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. At least we got somewhat of an entertaining matchup. So let's move on here to the Sunday games. Now, I got to tell you, man, looking at these games, I'm not excited about any of these games. There's probably like one or two games I'm excited about because it looks like it's kind of heavily favored towards one team for the most part. Like we got Baltimore versus Cincinnati. We're going to go through all these matchups here. Let's start off with the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this game I think will be closer than people think. And again, this is where I talk about Vegas knowing something we don't. You know, Atlanta's been terrible. They haven't been winning, but mind you, they've blown a couple leads. I still think they're a great team offensively. It's just that their defense is like Swiss cheese. They cannot get it going. They are a 2-point favorite, right? 2.5-point favorite. They're 0-4 against the Carolina Panthers, coming off who strung together a couple wins as of late. Teddy Bridgewater looked good last week. Going into week 5, you would think that Carolina is the favorite, but why is Atlanta favored? Well, they're at home. They're desperate. I'm surprised Quinn isn't fired yet. But now you've got Atlanta at home, 2.5-point favorite. I definitely see them potentially winning this game. They have to win. And one thing that annoyed me with this entire offense is that they're not utilizing Gurley. Gurley comes in, finally gets a touchdown. Then they're, driving upfield with Ito Smith and Brian Hill. And they finally bring Gurley back. He scores another touchdown. They're not utilizing their weapons. They're not playing well. Julio's been banged up. It's been a disaster. Obviously, Carolina's got their own issues with CMC being out, one of their primary weapons. But Davis has been coming in, stepping up. Robbie Anderson proving that he is the wide receiver one. As I said this prior to the season starting. What are your thoughts on this matchup? I think Atlanta wins this one.
I think they're favored because they're a better football team. Their coaching stinks. I don't think Carolina's not a good football team, and they beat an Arizona Cardinals, who I said this week 1. Well, people are all on the bandwagon. They're overrated. They're not that good. So Carolina beat a mediocre Arizona football team. Okay, their defense stepped up a little bit. Bridgewater made a couple more plays. They got a little more production in the red zone. If you remember, they put up some numbers in between the 20s, and they're going to throw the ball. They're going to get the yards, and I think with McCaffrey out, they're going to they did run the ball, but they're going to throw the ball a little bit more. You're right, because I mean, listen, this game, the over's 54. Every game's going over this year, it seems like, but. The defense stinks in Atlanta. It stinks in Carolina. But Atlanta, I still think people are in love with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones if he plays, Calvin Ridley, Gurley. Right. They are at home. So, two even teams at home, what do? You give them a couple points favored. I think they're saying, hey, both these teams stink. Since Atlanta's at home, let's just make them 2.5-point favorites.
Whose fault is it? You said coaching's bad, and we all agree coaching is bad. But if you look at that, one of those last plays in that game, you saw Matt Ryan going to the end zone to Calvin Ridley. I don't know if it was one of the last plays or second last plays. It was one of those drives kind of in the fourth quarter there. And Matt Ryan threw to Ridley, I believe, at one point in the end zone. And there just wasn't enough heat on that ball. You could see the sideline, Matt Ryan frustrated. And, is this Matt Ryan's fault? Is it more of a coaching thing? Or is it just the defense not holding him in? What is the main problem here?
It's all three. Matt Ryan has been, he puts up numbers. He's won some divisions, but he's overrated for what I think the general public sees of him. He's not an elite quarterback. That's number one. Right. Number two is the coaching in Atlanta. Listen, Dan Quinn, lovable guy, defensive-minded coach. Their defense stinks. I think their offensive coordinator, Dirk Cutter, is horrible. Their whole system stinks. It has since Kyle Shanahan left. And they don't play well as a team. Just nothing is right for them. And then you mentioned the defense. Their defense is horrible. Remember that, I think they reached in the first round for a cornerback. Remember they tried to move all the way up the board to get, I think it was Chase Young or something like that. They knew their defense stunk, and their defense still stinks. That comes down to all three things. You hit it right on the head. Now, Carolina has a little more promise on the outside with their wide receivers, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. It's interesting you say that. Robbie Anderson in New York, remember, he was a streaky guy.
Yeah.
A little bit more than a one-trick pony, the deep play, the big ball.
Yeah.
But hey, the Jets will kill anyone's career, right? Got out of New York. He didn't get as much love on the free agent market, but Carolina, I believe that's his old college coaching role, and he's really evolved as a nice player there. Yeah, and you've been in love with him since week 1, and I give you credit on that. And he's really come along.
Right. So you said you're taking the Falcons here to pull this off?
Yes, I just think that's a tough game.
That's a tough game.
I don't even want to touch this game because Carolina's dog shit, and so is Atlanta. I would go with the home team in that situation. But you know what? We'll talk about it when we get to the Texans and their new head coach. But I mean, I don't know. I think Dan Quinn should have got fired last year. I mean, every week that goes by, even on a victory, he may get fired. I don't know.
All right.
I would go with Atlanta if I had to.
Let's move on here. I don't want to spend too much time on this game, but Cincinnati Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens obviously a favorite here at home, 13 points over the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, it depends on what book you're looking at, but I have them sitting here at 13 points. Cincinnati Bengals, Burrow looks okay on some plays. Mixon seems to have come alive now, but again, that was a 1 week wonder type thing. In my opinion, I'm not really sold on Mixon. 1-2-1 Bengals versus 3-1 Ravens. Ravens arguably could be 4-0. They did play the Chiefs 1 week, so the score, their schedule and everything is affecting them, obviously, compared to where they could be. So anyway, yeah, man, I think the Ravens take this one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Mixon shines, it's better for Burrow. You're not going to win with Burrow throwing 61 times like he did a couple weeks ago. But the problem is the Ravens run defense. I think they're going to stop Mixon, and then Burrow's going to be forced to throw the ball, come from behind. I think I could see like a 45-21 win here, something like that, maybe 35-21 Baltimore.
But is Lamar a shell of himself from last year? I don't know if I see the same pep in his step. Is Lamar the real deal this year?
And that was his first year starting. I know he had some starts the year before. Whenever a guy starts for a full season, what happens? Defense, they have a whole season of tape on you.
Right.
So these good defensive coaches and these defensive teams, not Cincinnati, they don't have the talent. I mean, their defense has been improved, but not great. What happens? They have a whole thing. That's when you see a backup quarterback come in, light it up, and then he's the next big thing. The next year he comes in, what happens? He stinks because you got a whole year of tape on him almost.
Right.
So
right.
I think they're starting to figure out some ways to stop him. Now he's so good on his feet. When you scramble, he can take it 50 yards like he did the other day. Or the way he's going to be successful in this league is not doing that all the time. I think it's like more Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson scrambles to throw the ball a lot. So if Lamar, and he's been good at this a couple weeks ago when he played the Texans, he was really good scrambling and hitting the open receiver. But the problem is he's been down, 6 times he's trailed at the half, and he's never came back to win a game.
Right.
I think that's the stat. Don't quote me too much on that. He had that issue in college a little bit too, some of the big games. So let's see where they are as far as Bills, Ravens, Chiefs. We know they're under the Chiefs, Patriots. So I'm still taking the Ravens though. But yeah, they figured out Lamar a little bit, but he's so good. You can't just figure him out.
I mean, I'm not saying he's not good, but I'm saying compared to last year, he had such a pinnacle year. It's very hard to duplicate those type of numbers. It really is.
2 things. He doesn't have a good wide receiver core. He's got tight end Mark Andrews, who's an excellent tight end. For tight ends though, right? Unless you're Kittle or Kelsey. But then he also has not a great running game. I mean, these they don't have a core running back. They're giving Ingram the ball 8 times, Gus Edwards 10 times, Dobbins 5 times, whatever. It's like it's a 3-headed monster. I don't want to call that a monster because a 3-headed committee over there, right? And that I don't like that. I think you need to get a guy the ball at least 15, 20 times to get in the groove. Ingram's a shell of his former self, whatever that means.
Sure.
So he'll get a good play. I think he's a locker room guy. He's a leader. That he means a lot to that team, but he can't carry it 20 times a game anymore and be successful, right? So, but can Gus Edwards? Probably not. You need Dobbins to step up, I think. I don't know if they trust the rookie, though, and I think that will also hurt them, not having just a one running back and the other guys complement them.
Just to let you know, we'll move on here, but Lamar Jackson's 11th right now in total touchdowns passing and 27th in passing yards amongst quarterbacks. 27th. So he's got to throw that ball, man. I'm telling you. All right, so we got to move on here. This is a disaster of a matchup. And again, Vegas doing what Vegas does. You would think, like theoretically, logically, Jacksonville should be the favorite here. Houston at home as a 6.5 point favorite. This is what I mean. I mean, they know stuff we don't know. Houston's going to win this game. They're at home. They're at 0-4. They're desperate versus the 1-3 Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. I know you like Jacksonville.
You do.
Man, I mean, like the Texans have been a disaster. They're not utilizing. We talked about this last week. They're not utilizing Cooks. He had 0 targets last week. Going into week 5, they got to use their best receiver, which I still think is Brandon Cooks. People can debate that and say Fuller. I mean, Fuller did have this one opportunity to make a catch at the end of the game. He came down with the ball, hit the floor. I think Fuller is good. I think maybe he's got more rapport with Watson. That's why, he's kind of the one right now. But when you look at Watson, I mean, he's scrambling. He's not utilizing the offense. David Johnson's not being utilized to his full potential. They're a disaster, man. This matchup, I don't know, man. Houston's got to win this matchup.
Houston has talent, and they're not gonna go winless. They're not gonna go 0-8. They're gonna win games. They had probably the hardest first 4 games of the season compared to any other team in the NFL. Number one. Number two, the new head coach coming in is a guy who's Romeo Cornell, who's, he was the assistant head coach and he's watching over the defense, even though he wasn't technically the DC this year. I'll explain. Romeo Cornell has had a horrible career as a head coach. He's 73 years old. When he was in Houston, he's been in Houston, for a little while now. And back in I don't know if it was 14, 15, 16, 17, the defense was good, but they had, Clowney, Watt. That's when Watt was in his prime. But now the last couple of years, the defense stinks. And right. I know Anthony Weaver got promoted to defensive coordinator, but it's really still Cornell's defense. The defense stinks. Cornell has never had success as a head coach. So now you're putting the offensive coordinator who was, 34 years old, was a D tackle. And then he became somehow he becomes an offensive quarterback coach, an OC from being a D tackle. Hey, maybe he'll do good. The only way he does good and the play calling improves is if, all right, you got Bill O'Brien looking over your shoulder and you're running his offense. Maybe this guy's like, screw this. Like he wanted to take some chances. You see this sometimes. And now he's just going to let it loose. And maybe Tim Kelly will be successful at offensive coordinator, but their offense is a mess. I think if their offense gets better, the defense will get better in return. But Watson, $40 million man, not playing up to potential either. So I don't know if it's a lost season or they can come back and save this season. I think they need to make a statement game and win by double digits here.
Yeah, they got to have a huge game here. So the coaching change, who obviously I think it's going to help everybody, but who do you think it's going to help the most here offensively?
I think it helps the whole team because Bill O'Brien was a prick over there yelling at everybody. Nobody liked him really. I mean, I think the whole attitude is going to change in the building. And like I said, they're not your typical 0-4 team. They have talent. They're probably going to end up winning 6 to 8 games this year. I can see them going 8-4 the rest of the year. I can see, going 0-4 to start the season is a big hole to get out of. But I don't know who it has to help Watson more than anybody, but that counts on, it's like, it takes 2 to tango there. All right. Is this Watson's team now? Cause this was Bill O'Brien's whole organization. It was the team. It was the OC. I mean, even though he wasn't he took the OC duties last week. I mean, it has to help Watson because there's nobody else really there that, can step up. I think that's on that level. So I would say it has to help Watson. If it doesn't help Watson, it's Watson's, it's going to be Watson's fault.
Yeah. We won't spend too much time on Jacksonville, but I mean, dumping off Fournette, Robinson's been able to come in and do okay. I mean, they've got Chark there. He's been kind of been banged up here and there. I mean, I'm not expecting too much out of the Jacksonville Jaguars in this matchup.
You never know, man.
Never know.
I mean, you got 2-0, got a 1-3 Jacksonville, 0-4 Texans. I mean, hey, 0-4, you can easily be a lot easier to be 0-5 than 1-4. So Shark played well last week, right? And then he's been banged up a little, but Minshew hasn't played too great the last couple weeks. But I think Doug Marrone, they go on a losing streak. I think Doug Marrone is. I mean, I've heard Doug Marrone is going no matter what. I can see Doug Marrone being fired within the next few weeks if they. Go on a little mini losing streak, and then Jay Gruden getting that job. That's my prediction in Jacksonville at some point this year.
Yeah, Minshew hasn't been horrible. He's currently sitting 7th right now in passing yards amongst quarterbacks, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, that's not bad. I mean,
what Joe?
What's that?
You got to understand. That team doesn't have a lot of talent.
No, they don't.
It's like Atlanta's defense. They don't have a lot of talent. They don't have, everyone's coaching, but there's been a lot of really bad GM jobs over the past couple of years, and you start to see like the Texans. There's no debt. That defense stinks. They have no future, no first round, second round pick this year. You start to see a lot of teams having GMs doing a horrible job building depth, and you see that in Jacksonville too. They trade, they just traded Jalen Ramsey for a guy. I mean, they traded Yannick Ngakoue. They trade their good guys, and if they didn't, they'd probably be in the playoff hunt.
All right, let's move on here. Who wins that one? I'm going to go with the Texans on this.
I'll go with the Texans. I don't know if they're going to. I think I'm not saying. I think they need a statement game, but I think they win.
All right, moving on here. This is an interesting matchup. Probably one of the only matchups I'm really excited about. The Vegas Raiders on the road versus the Chiefs. Chiefs should take this 13-point favorite. I just don't like the way the Raiders are running that offense. I mean, they aren't bringing in Josh Jacobs when they should. It's like 3rd and 6. They're bringing in like Jalen Richard. I think I saw Devontae Booker on the field a few times. You've got Josh Jacobs, arguably one of the best running backs in the game. Young, talented, strong. And he's not on the field enough for me. And I know I'm a little bit biased because of fantasy, but I need to see Josh Jacobs on the field a little bit more. In regards to Chiefs, man, I mean, what can you say about them? They're rock solid on offense. Defense could use some work. 14-point favorite. If Vegas has no receivers, that's my opinion. I mean, Waller finally got going last week, didn't do anything in week 3. I mean, Carr, I don't think he's a long-term solution. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, the Raiders don't have any weapons on the outside. And, their first-round pick, Ruggs, is hurt. I think he's still hurt. And, they're out a few receivers. I think, one for the year and the 2 other rookies, Edwards and Ruggs. They just don't have the firepower on the outside to compete. When they had those guys, they can get those big plays, that offense, because they don't need a go-to guy there, even though it would help. But, the tight end has been the go-to guy. I wouldn't blame Jacobs so much. He didn't play well last week at all, but I really do think that they don't have enough weapons to compete. But, they've been better. They've been better this year, and I expected a playoff run, but they just don't have a healthy team. The second thing is Kansas City Chiefs are listen, you can say, if Cam Newton was there, they would have won. We don't know that, but they didn't play well last week. But when it mattered, Stidham drove him down late in the third, at the end of the third quarter, scored a touchdown. What did Mahomes do? He came right back with a touchdown. Then they got lucky. They had that pick 6 that went off Edelman's hands, and that kind of just was the game. And, I think Stidham played well last week. I think the problem was, they knew he was throwing the ball. He threw that bad interception at the end. I wouldn't blame him for the pick 6 at all. But Kansas City looked very beatable. But does that mean New England's defense is that damn good? And New England's up there, or did Kansas City take a step back? I don't think Kansas City, maybe they're not taking it easy earlier in the season, but hey, you got the win. I mean, it's a long season. So
Mahomes has been phenomenal. I mean, he's 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's currently sitting 8th in regards to passing yards. Believe it or not, people don't know this. Gardner Minshew has 4 more passing yards than Pat Mahomes right now. I mean, interesting fact. The only quarterback, in my opinion, that's currently doing better than Pat Mahomes, and not really much better, but he's 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's got more passing yards, is Aaron Rodgers right now. So his chip on his shoulder, like we talked about prior to the season, is true, man. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove this year.
You got Mahomes, Rodgers, and Russell Wilson, MVP candidates. And it sucks because you can take any one of those guys. You take Mahomes off the Chiefs, they're not the Chiefs.
Right.
So you can argue, even though it's not as like people, he's not getting 5 touchdowns a game, you can say Mahomes is the MVP. And I'm not going to disagree with you. What's the definition of MVP? Most valuable player. Who's the most valuable to your team? Right. So all 3 of those guys, and I'm sure Josh Allen too.
Josh Allen could be in consideration.
Buffalo has a good team as well. We're not going to get into an MVP debate right now, but you're right. I mean, they're very valuable. I mean, Mahomes is nasty.
All right, this game I'm not looking forward to at all. Moving on here, Arizona Cardinals versus the New York Jets. Arizona Cardinals are only a 7-point favorite, coming off a couple losses here. The Jets really have no chance in hell. I think Sam Darnold's even banged up. I think his shoulder's screwed up right now. From what I hear, he is not expected to play due to a separated shoulder. Joe Flacco came in. You got to be wacko if you play Flacco. You know my talk. I'm not excited about this matchup at all, man. I don't know. I don't
think anybody is. Listen, Jets season. It sucks because Adam Gase, I knew listen, the problem is he's not a good head coach, but you can't even blame him for this year because they have no talent. They have no talent. How you put any other head coach into that situation, would you have a win or two by now? Okay, maybe. But we knew before the season Adam Gase wasn't any good. He never deserved this job. He came from Miami, mediocre record, to New York and got all these millions of dollars just thrown down the toilet by the Jets. I mean, they hired Joe Douglas, who he's done a horrible job as GM. He's done a horrible job in 16 months on the job. And there's no depth, there's no roster, there's nothing. It's terrible.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's one of the worst teams I've ever seen. Arizona is not a good football team. I think they can be, I think they're mediocre at best. So, I mean, I would never take the Jets in any game. Kenyon Drake hasn't played well. We all knew that, but they love him there. Kyler Murray didn't throw the ball well last week. He struggled this year under pressure and quick releases, but he did throw 3 touchdowns last week. He knows how to run the ball. I will give him credit. I don't like it. I don't like when quarterbacks do that, but he knows how to run the ball and knows how to get out of bounds and slide. And I have to give him credit for that. And I think this Jets defense is not going to contain him. And I think he runs the ball a lot this week, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, I'm going to take the Cardinals on that one. That's easy. All right, this one here. Is Carson Wentz back? Is he back? He had a win last week. Steelers coming off a week where they didn't play. At home, 7-point favorite. Steelers should run all over the Eagles. I mean, Deontay Johnson's back. He was under concussion protocol. Connor's been able to play really well. Big Ben should be comfortable in the groove, well rested. Eagles don't really have a receiver. They're scrambling. They're filling in holes at receiver. I mean, Miles Sanders has looked lackluster, to say the least here. I don't know, man. I think the Steelers have to take this one.
Yeah, you have one of the best defenses in football going up against one of the worst offensive lines in football. And I say, listen, Lane Johnson's a stud, but he's been banged up, was in and out of the game last week. They're out 3 other players on that line. So their line in Philadelphia is not that good. Pittsburgh should dominate on the defensive side of the ball, and what they're going to do is, and Carson Wentz is going to move out of the pocket. But, when Carson moves out of the pocket, he's dangerous on that run sometimes. And he doesn't have the receivers. Greg Ward Jr. is his number 1 receiver so far. Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey. Listen, I don't care if they come back or not. They're not that good. They're a shell of what they used to be, right?
Right.
So, but it's still a little better than what they have. So, and that goes back. Another bad GM job. Philadelphia, terrible. So I'm going Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's going to take that. I mean, Carson Wentz looks horrible. I mean, 4 touchdowns to his 7 interceptions. Just not looking good at all. 930 passing yards. I mean, this is not a $128 million man. I mean, I said this when he got paid that contract. I'm like, this guy hasn't finished the season. He's not that good. What are you doing? And he's not. I mean, obviously, in his defense, he doesn't have as many weapons as, let's say, a Dak Prescott has. But I mean, you gotta step up, similar to Watson.
But I think even if he was back with a good line and a couple of weapons, I still don't think. I mean, he loves his tight ends. He still got Ertz. I think Goddard's still out, right? And I just don't love it. He hasn't played well. Even he's made some bad throws and bad interceptions. But Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson. They got their full stack back, and I think they win.
Steamroll them. All right, Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans. 4-0 Buffalo Bills. Let's go Buffalo. Is that one of those chants they have? Listen, Titans are a pretty good team too. They're nothing to laugh at. I know you're not a big fan of Tannehill, but they're sitting at 3. They're sitting pretty at 3-0. Listen, I like the Bills. I like Josh Allen. I'm a Josh Allen ambassador. I actually bought his rookie card when everybody was talking bad about him. I got a signed Allen rookie card. It's probably worth around $1,600 US right now. Very happy about my purchase. And I think if he gets MVP, that gets inflated along with my Russell Wilson card. In regards to this matchup, man, I don't see any odds on this yet. Maybe with the book that you guys are looking at has one. I still think Vegas needs to figure this out by the time of this recording. But I don't know. I'm going to go here. Buffalo, they've been playing solid. But again, they've had some games where, they kind of blew a lead in one game, but still won. Tennessee, this is a tough one, man. I my hands are in the air with this one. As long as Henry can run and Ryan can throw the ball, Tannehill can throw the ball and get a couple yards here and there, get some touchdowns in the air, I think the Tennessee Titans win this one.
Yeah, I only see it on one book in Vegas, and I see it at -1 Buffalo, but I don't know how accurate that is. And that's not Vegas. That's just on VegasInsider.com, what I checked. But it's off the board completely everywhere else. I think Buffalo wins this game. I think their defense stops Derrick Henry, and their defense gives Tannehill fits. I think he throws multiple interceptions in this game. I think Buffalo's offense marches down the field, and I think they win this game by a touchdown.
Wow. You just have a hate on for Ryan Tannehill, don't you?
Yeah, but I think Buffalo, listen, I said before, over the next 5 weeks, we'll see who Buffalo is. They're better than the Titans.
We'll see.
Patriots, I don't know. Seahawks, Chiefs, probably not. So we'll see, but they're better than the Titans. They need this W.
I just want to end this off on this with Buffalo and Tennessee. I think these are both those teams that are good, but I don't think they're really good. You know, they can pull out these amazing records, these winning records. They can make the playoffs, but they're not the guys. They're the anticlimactics. Let's call them that. The anticlimactics. They're not going to be your Seahawks. They're not going to be your Packers. They're not going to be your Chiefs. And I don't think, maybe Josh Allen, maybe, but yeah, Tannehill is just the above par quarterback. He's good, but he's never going to be.
He's not going to bring you back in the playoffs. He's not going to. He's nowhere near as good as Allen. So I think that's the difference with these two teams. And Tennessee's offense is built different. It's geared different towards the run. Buffalo is not running the ball this year. I mean, they're not. They had their first rushing touchdown, since week 9 of last season from a running back last week. But they're going all Josh Allen all the way. Tennessee's giving the ball to Henry 25, 30 times a game. It's a different offense. So my thing is, here's what I want to see in this game. If Buffalo's up, especially in the third and fourth quarter, if they're up 21-6, 21-10, can Tennessee come back? Because they don't seem like a good comeback team.
Well, I think Moss has been banged up. That's why they're not pounding the ball in. Singletary's not a guy that'll pound the ball in. So hopefully when Moss gets back, they start, smashing the ball down the defense's throat. But I don't know if Moss is capable of doing that yet. We haven't seen enough out of him. So, yeah, I mean, I can definitely see Buffalo winning this. I'm going to take the Titans. I'm imagining Buffalo is going to be a 3-point favorite here, but I might go Titans here. All right, speaking of anticlimactic, Washington football team is here at home versus the Rams.
Yeah.
Rams looking okay. They've been banged up at the running back position, but they've been looking okay. I mean, Cam Akers is supposed to be the guy, rookie coming out, and he's got a rib injury, and I know how bad those rib injuries are when I was doing MMA. And when you have a rib injury, if anything, even something touches it, if you get hit there, it's a sharp pain, man. It's a stabbing, sharp pain, and I'm not sure the severity of Cam Akers' rib injury, or I think from what I hear, he might be coming back week 5. But Darrell Henderson, I don't think he's the solution. Malcolm Brown used to wow us. We're not wowed. The offense looks pretty solid in regards to wide receivers. I think they're okay there. But the Washington football team, McLaren, I mean, I think he's banged up. Did he play last week? I don't even know if he played. I don't know, man. Washington's just kind of just getting by, man. They're just like, hey, we're just going to truck through. We're like the New York Jets. We're going to wait for a better pick. It's a disaster there, man.
And I'm going to start with the Rams. The Rams looked not that good last week. They beat the Giants. They beat them 17-9. Okay, I understand. You got to win. You won by 8 points. The Giants were threatening at the end, but Danny Jones threw that interception over there. And Giants are a horrible football team. But the Rams, I know they got to score more than 17 points against Washington. Washington has a couple pieces on D. Their offense, they have a couple pieces. Look for Dwayne Haskins to get pulled eventually. I don't know if Ron Rivera, I don't know if listen, once you pull that kid, you're going to, I don't know if he would go to Kyle Allen or Alex Smith. I want to see Alex Smith if he's healthy because he's the best quarterback on that team. But we don't know how he's going to come out. But I would look for him to pull Haskins eventually. Haskins can't get this team in the end zone. The team's not that good. They're just not that good. Remember I said they play hard. They put up like 15 points a game. They play hard for Rivera. Rivera, it sucks. I mean, he barely stands up sometimes. It's just, going through the cancer there. I don't think he should be coaching, but that's not my thing to say. I hate to see something like that. He's getting IVs at the half. So I think the team respects that, and I think they play hard, but they just don't have the talent. So I'm going LA Rams.
Yeah, I don't blame you here. Rams 8-point favorite here, and absolutely great breakdown here. Washington football team just trucking along. All right, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins and the 49ers. I'm talking about it like it's actually an exciting game. I mean, you never know with these teams. 1-3 Dolphins, they had that one win. When was it? A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
49ers 2-2. They've been banged up all offseason. Kittle coming back. Huge factor there. He's been playing running back. He's been playing wide receiver. He's been playing tight end. Kittle is an all-purpose weapon. If you can neutralize Kittle, now you got Deebo Samuel, who's built like a running back almost. I mean, he's a strong dude. I mean, they're going to use him out of the backfield. It's trickery after trickery. I'm watching this game. I'm like, Kittle's not supposed to be a running back. Deebo's not supposed to be a tight end. Like, what's going on? It's just, man, how do you even predict and how do you plan against 49ers?
Listen, Garoppolo's status is still uncertain. The team's trying to get him back this week, but he may miss another week or so. I told you early in the season, those high ankle sprains, remember they said, oh, Mike Thomas might not miss any time. No, I've seen those a lot, man. They're bad injuries. They take 4 to 6 weeks sometimes, and it depends on the position of the player. So I think they really miss Garoppolo. I mean, they pulled Nick Mullins at the end of the game last week. The running, I mean, they're on their third string running back. Their receivers, they don't have any pure receivers that run a good route tree that are real deal receivers. They have guys that are, do the tricks. Like you said, Samuel, he plays all these different positions, but that will catch up with you eventually. I know they made it to the Super Bowl last year, and if they hit that long, deep ball, Garoppolo would have, through, it would be different, but Kittle is their one, but he's a tight end. I still think they need a real deal receiver over there when you need it, because when you're moving the ball downfield, you can't rely on these guys that, these athletic type guys all the time. You need guys that know how to run routes and quarterbacks can depend on. So I don't know who's the quarterback this week. I mean, I still think they win this game. Miami caught Jacksonville sleeping on the Thursday night a couple weeks ago. Listen, the Dolphins come out and say it again. Fitzpatrick's starting this week. What does that tell you? Eventually, they're going to put out a press release that says Tua is starting.
Right.
I don't give a shit. I told you this before. Ryan Fitzpatrick's never been to the playoffs. You're just losing games by starting him. You're losing your season. He's not good. He never has been good. He's just terrible, even in fact, right? But, they have a young offensive line, the couple veterans they brought in as well on the line. They have a new offensive line playing a little better. They don't really have a good running back in Miami at all. They got a couple receivers with some talent, a little bit of talent. They got a good tight end. Defense has been improved, but they're, I want to see Tua. That's what I want to see. Do you bring Tua in the middle of a game, or do you bring him in fresh off the week? I think fresh off the week is what they do, but he's coming in eventually. But the Niners are going to bang this out. I mean, they're just a better football team.
Yeah, and what bothers me, we're talking about bringing Tua in. What bothers me is this. A lot of teams do this thing where they're just like wasting time. Like, there's no future in Fitzmagic. There's no future. For example, the Colts are doing this right now. Like, Rivers is not the long-term solution. Let's be honest here. He's not. And a lot of teams do this, and that bothers me. Why don't we just move quicker? Let's pivot. It's like being in a bad relationship. If you're in a relationship for a long time with a girl that's cheating on you every day, it's inevitable that this probably won't work unless you're okay with her cheating on you.
Yeah, but
I
mean, you got to see if Tua's ready. Listen, first of all, he's got to be healthy, which they say he is, but maybe he's looked like shit in preseason. I don't practice, but like they brought Herbert in the Chargers, and listen, he has some flashes, but he's also, you can tell he's a rookie. He makes mistakes, but see, he looks ready to play and learn from these mistakes. Tua's been through a lot. I mean, his freshman year at Alabama, he came in sophomore. I mean, he was a stud, right?
Right.
So, but Herbert looks like he's ready. He looks like he can handle the NFL right now, even though he's going to make mistakes. For me, Herbert's going through growing pains, and it's not going to affect him. I don't know what they see in Tua. The other problem is Miami has no chance with Tua this year. Like, they don't have a chance to even compete for anything. So maybe they're going to try to string it out a little longer. I don't know. But do you want to bring Tua in there, kind of like Sam Darnold in New York, and just have him get his ass kicked? That's not good either.
Let me ask you this. Who is going to be holding out for Trevor Lawrence purposely? I mean, you've got the Giants. You've got the
Giants, the Jets, the Redskins.
Right. No, they're called the football team now. Let's get that. Whatever.
Giants, the Jets, the Washington.
Okay, so who's holding out? Like, you got to imagine if you're 0-4, 1-3, you've got to be thinking Trevor Lawrence here. So when do these teams say, okay, we want Trevor Lawrence, we're going to be submissive now, and we're just going to purposely hold out on? I mean, you got to imagine that the Giants are thinking that now. Now, is this going to be an actual competition? Do you think these teams actually sit there in the room and say, hey, you know what, in the back of our minds, we're going to lose this year anyway. Let's hold out. Do you think that? How does that think?
Listen, you're not, like, to me, Atlanta's 0-4, but I think better than 0-4. They'll win some games. If Atlanta gets the number one pick somehow and they keep bombing, which I don't think they will, you have to take Trevor Lawrence. You sit him a little bit. Matt Ryan, maybe you trade him. You have to take him. The other teams that have a chance, Detroit's 1-3, but they're better than that. I don't think they'd be in the mix, but they can move on from Stafford. Stafford proved he's not a winner. Minnesota, they're a little better than 1-3. I don't think they'll be there. You're really looking at the Giants, the Redskins. The Broncos are 1-3. If Drew Lock doesn't come back, I know they love Drew Lock, but of course they'll take Trevor Lawrence. The Chargers, I mean, they just got Herbert, but I mean, what if Trevor Lawrence is there and he's a stud? Do you trade Herbert for a 1? I don't know. I don't like the Chargers this year, but The Texans aren't going to be a true 0-4. Jacksonville, I think they'll win some games, but they would take Trevor Lawrence over there. I know that. Carolina, what does Carolina have? 2 wins now?
They'll win. They'll win. Yeah, they're 2-2. They'll win. No, I mean,
I don't know. I'd be careful. I don't think they're that good, but you're right. They probably won't get the number 1 pick. You're looking at the Giants and the Jets, really, and maybe the Redskins, right?
Yeah, football team and the 2 you mentioned. Those guys are in full Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes mode right now.
They both took quarterbacks 2 years ago and 3 years ago in the top 5, top 6, top 5 or top 6 or something. But is Trevor Lawrence a lot better than those guys? Yes. Then you have Justin Fields coming from Ohio State, who teams love. I don't know how pro he's going to be, but let's see, Big Ten starts very soon. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I'm him, I wouldn't want to play for the Jets.
No, I think there's talk about him, and I don't know if it was an article I read or a rumor where might hold out another year in college to avoid the Jets.
But I mean, yeah, they say that, but look at the Redskins too. They just took all these 3 teams we're talking about, took a first-round quarterback within the last 3 years.
Right.
In the top 15, if you count Haskins, I think went 15. So there also could be a surprise team that goes on a slide. It could be Miami's 1-3, and they're terrible. If Tua comes in, it's terrible. But they got Tua. I mean, another first-round quarterback. If I'm the Jets, I move on from Darnold. The problem is you're not going to get much in a trade for him because he hasn't shown anything.
Right.
The Giants, I mean, Daniel Jones doesn't look like – it was so funny. All these people last year were, I knew he was good and this and that. Yeah. Duke. Yeah. People, one good game. But anyways.
All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about the Broncos and Patriots here. Cam Newton, I would assume, should be back here. I don't know about Drew Lock. I don't think
he's coming back, buddy.
No?
I don't think so. I think it's only been COVID for like 8 days. And you need 14 days. I don't think so. I know they said it's not 100%, but I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they need him. They definitely need him. I think that they have enough to beat the Broncos, but I mean, watched. I mean, they don't have a solution there. I mean,
Stidham will come in. I mean, Belichick just said that he didn't know he's going to worry about the starter soon. He said something like, one of his remarks. But I think it goes to Stidham. But Hoyer can't get him in the end zone. And you need to score more than 3 points to win a football game.
Yeah, Stidham, I mean, 2 interceptions and a touchdown. He didn't look good, man. He didn't look good at all.
I mean, he was throwing the ball from behind against the Chiefs. Like, I just can't look at that.
Give him a fresh start. Yeah, he had Hoyer start the game.
That pick 6 wasn't his fault. I think Stidham will come in and they'll win this game if he starts, and I think he'll look good.
Yeah, give him a start from the beginning. Put some confidence in the guy. Hopefully he comes in and does well. I'm not excited about this game. I think Phillip Lindsay's going to be back in the backfield for the Broncos. They've been kind of banged up. Tim Murphy, I think his name came in. I mean, these guys are coming out of nowhere. I mean, with Cortland Sutton being gone, someone's got to come in.
Can I tell you something? I know the line is not out too many places, but I've seen it from 8 to 10 Patriots.
Okay, I said Tim Murphy. I meant Tim Patrick. See, this is what I mean, man. Like, you have Judy, you have Hamler, you have Sutton, you have Fant. Where's Tim Patrick coming from? He came in.
Too, right?
Tim Patrick. I call him Tim Murphy. But listen, so what would you say? The Patriots are the favorite by what?
Between 8 to 10. It's only on 2 books right now. 8.5 to 10.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a little high if without Newton, right? I think that's a little high.
Yeah, but their defense is good. I think the Patriots. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's high. I mean, if it's like 7 points, I think you take the Patriots, but over 10, I don't know where it's going to go. Let's see. It's only on one Vegas book, the Westgate, right now. So we'll have to monitor this as the week goes on.
All right, let's move on here. I want to talk about the Colts and the Browns. This is going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Browns, this is a team that's like, are they for real? They're 3-1, and the Colts are 3-1. And I think both these teams look lackluster. Cleveland a little more explosive, but they lost one of their best players, Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt coming in. We talked about this. Kareem Hunt more involved in that passing game. He didn't really come in. That D'Ernest Johnson came in. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. All these new names coming in, man, with the pandemic and everything like that. Some of these names you don't hear too much about in the offseason, but D'Ernest Johnson came in, had 13 attempts, not bad, 95 yards, 7.3 yards per carry. It looked like he kind of came in and filled the Nick Chubb role. Will he fill it fully? No, it's Nick Chubb. He's obviously probably the better player, but you look at this. I mean, Rivers has been looking very, very boring. I mean, what does he have? Like 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He doesn't look good. He's not utilizing his best receiver. I know you say T.Y. Hilton's a little washed up. I think he's just not getting the ball enough. That's my personal opinion. He's not.
I know, but I didn't say he was washed up. He's just not as good as the T.Y. Hilton of his prime, number one. Number two, Phillip Rivers isn't either. So what Phillip Rivers doing is managing this football team. Here, manage that. He's the game manager. The old saying, I'm a game manager. He's a little bit better than a game manager. He can come in and make those throws when he needs to, but when the game he threw for 300 something yards, they lost. He's not the Phillip Rivers of before. Okay, number one. Number two, the Cleveland Browns put a clinic, but are they going to be that 8-8 team still that's going to be erratic? The Cowboys, how bad are they? How good are they? They have a great offense. Cleveland almost blew it. Odell had that sick run for 50-plus yards.
Not going to do that on the Colts. Colts have a really good defense. They got away with a lot that they're not going to regularly get away from.
Well, this is probably the best game on the schedule, but it's not going to be the most exciting to watch. Or maybe it will, but it's not going to be like, oh, you're not going to tune in to watch this game. But it probably is one of the better games on the schedule. But yeah, I listen, if Cleveland wins and beats the Colts by a touchdown or two, then yeah, Cleveland's upper echelon AFC underneath the Chiefs and Ravens. Then you start to move them up in the power rankings, which we'll give our top three at the end like we always do, Joe. And Indy, maybe they win by 10 and they go up in our power ranking. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
Taylor got the ball, didn't produce a lot, but Indy's starting to find their identity. Cleveland spreading the ball around, finding their identity, some trick plays, couple, the reverse, the Landry to Odell in the end zone. Let's see. I want to watch this game.
I just want to end it off on this note. One thing that was very disappointing in week 4 is, Jonathan Taylor led in attempts. He had 17 attempts, but Nyheim Hines and Wilkins both had 9 attempts each. Now, Nyheim Hines averaging 2.7 yards per rush, but he's not really a rushing running back. Why are you giving him 9 rushing attempts? That's a problem when you have the power back and the workhorse in Taylor. And Wilkins just isn't that good. I mean, 9 carries, 15 yards, 1.7 yards per carry. Just never been a good running back. You've got Taylor, and now you've given up 18 rushing attempts, 9 of which are going to a pass-catching running back. I mean, that is unacceptable. What are you doing?
I just don't think Taylor had the hot hand last week, and I think they were trying to get a spark. Remember what we said, the Colts lack playmakers. So I think they look at Hines as a potential playmaker. I don't know if he is or not, but I think they're trying to get some juice. They're trying to break off a big play, and I know Taylor's not. Yeah. Taylor's that big play guy. He's just a good running back, but I think they need those. They're desperate for big plays in Indianapolis if they want to step it up in the AFC. And compete.
That explains it. I mean, the spark, explanation explains it, but I still want to see Jonathan Taylor out there. All right, divisional game here. Now, typically, if I was talking to you about the Cowboys and the Giants game, we'd probably be a little bit more excited. This week, man, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. 10-point favorite are the Cowboys. I think that's being generous. I mean, they're putting up a lot of points. They're throwing the ball a lot, and they should just slice and dice through the Giants here. They are 1-3, but I think another team that I think is better than what their record shows. I mean, similar to the Texans, similar to the Falcons, I think the Cowboys are a good team. I can't believe they're 1-3. I mean, there's a one game they lost with Ramsey there. I think that was a foul there. They lost that game. Either way, man, I mean, you look at this, I think the Cowboys destroy the Giants here. But again, it's a divisional game, right? It could be close to people think.
Could be. I think the Cowboys are, they're obviously can put some points on the board, can throw the ball. The game plan is, it's been mismanaged. It's hard though when you're from behind by, double digits several games. What are you going to do? You have to throw the ball. But I think it's been poor from the get-go. I feel for McCarthy over there as the head coach. I think what sucks about him is his defense is terrible. They're really missing, they're not playing well on defense at all, and they're just getting bombed. It's not even terrible. They're like beyond terrible. And I think the offense in Dallas, they have one of the top offensive lines, top running back, top receiver core. I mean, they just have to, like, with that offense, it's like you say about Atlanta, but it's like Atlanta's offense on triple steroids. Like, they're just a lot better, but they have to control the game. They're not controlling any football games here. But I would look for, the Giants. What are you going to talk about? Evan Ingram, their tight end, is not a tight end, can't block. He's their best receiver. Their other receivers stink. The running game is whatever. They don't have an offensive line. Their defense stinks. I mean, Golden Tate got in a fight at midfield last week. I mean, come on. They're a mess. They're a mess over there. And Joe Judge, I don't know if he's going to succeed here, but he does not have his players that buy into his system. The Cowboys, I think they blow them out.
I got a question here, and I want to answer it myself, and I want to hear your answer as well. Is Dak Prescott worth big bucks? Is he worth Watson? Is he worth Not Mahomes. Okay, that's a bad example. Is he worth Russell Wilson money? Is he worth that type of money? Because I'm going to say, if he was, I mean, he's doing his job. He's throwing the ball. He's getting the ball to his receivers. They're putting up points. Is he worth the money? That's my first question. Number two, what is the problem? How are the Cowboys not winning games here? How are they only 1-3?
Well, I think you have to understand. I just told you how good his offense is. If you plug other quarterbacks onto that team, are they going to do similar? Are they going to put up similar stats? I think yes, they will. And I've talked to some people in the game of football, and they say, "Hey, put Deshaun Watson on the team," because I'm not a huge Deshaun Watson guy now. I think he can get better, but he's not elite either. But you put Deshaun on this team, will he light up the scoreboard?
Well, yeah, he would.
When you put Roethlisberger on this team, you put other quarterbacks. So no, I think his numbers are inflated because of the players around him, because of the play calling. I do think he's a really good quarterback, but I don't think he's worth, that $40-something million a year contract. And what was the second question you were asking me?
Why are they losing so much? What is the main problem here with the Cowboys?
I think it's the defense, and they're getting behind too early in the game, and the coaching, the defense and the coaching. They're not. That's what it comes down to. I mean, you got to blame the quarterback at some point, but he's done a good job bringing them back, and I will say that. And that's something you can't. Some quarterbacks don't have that in them. I mean, Lamar Jackson is not a bit. He hasn't proven that he can bring a team back when they fall down double digits. Dak Prescott has proven he can bring a team back. Matt Ryan has proved he can give up a lead. So it's hard to bring teams back. I will give Dak Prescott a lot of credit for that, but it's the defense and it's the coaching.
So here's a question for you. We'll end this off here at the Cowboys here. You put Dak Prescott in Sam Darnold's position. Is Dak now Sam Darnold?
I think he's better than Sam Darnold. I haven't seen it. If you flip that question, I haven't seen enough of Sam Darnold really to see what he can do. He doesn't look elite to me, Sam Darnold. You start to see flashes of stuff, and he had a gritty performance last week. Was it on Thursday night?
Right.
But against the Broncos, it was a gritty performance. It was gutsy, and he won. I didn't win, but he scored. He scored a nice run, and I just think no, I don't think so.
Okay. All right, let's move on here. Seattle versus the Vikings here. This is the Sunday night game. Seattle 7-point favorite. Vikings coming in with a little pep in their step. They're walking in with the Conor McGregor swagger now. They won a game. 1-3 Vikings. Another team I think are better than what their record shows. Seattle, obviously, red hot here, 4-0 at home. Mind you, the 12th man isn't going to be there, but I don't know, man. This is going to be an interesting one. Battle of the NFC. Seattle wins this game. Dalvik Cook, is he going to stay healthy? I mean, the way they ran him, what do you have, like 27 attempts? I mean, he had a couple plays.
He did good.
He did really good. And he is impressive. And it's kind of weird. I made a statement on my Instagram yesterday. I said, this is like the only year where Dalvin Cook is the only healthy running back and everyone's banged up. I mean, Nick Chubb, CMC, Saquon Barkley, everybody's hurt.
Yeah.
Eckler is hurt. Like everybody's hurt except for how long can this last? He is one hit away. I mean, a lot of running backs are, but one hit away from being out for the season. We saw him get shaken up in the past 2 games. I'm not sold on Dalvin Cook finishing the season. I give him another 3 to 4 weeks of this before he goes down permanently. Well, I think hold on, Mickey said it best in the Rocky. That guy's gonna hurt you. He's gonna hurt you permanently, So it's gonna be one of those things. I don't believe in Dalvin Cook finishing the season. Seattle's gonna run over these guys. He's gonna run into the Seattle defense. Not that they're the best defense in the league, but he's gonna get hurt. And again, Seattle, Carson's coming in and out of the field. Wilson's the saving grace on this team. Metcalf, Lockett, they're looking solid. And I do like Jefferson. I got to tell you, I do like Jefferson. He's been stepping it up. I think he's the team's best receiver. You could say Thielen because he's got that rapport. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
I like Jefferson a lot.
Well, there's 2 things to look at. First, I want you to look at Minnesota's defense is not as good as last year's. So I think Seattle will put points on the board. But also you got to understand Seattle's defense, and I'm going to go to Dalvin Cook in a second, is not as good as people think. They've given up 25 points to the Falcons, 30 to the Patriots, 31 to the Cowboys, and 23 to the lowly Miami Dolphins. And they almost lost that game last week. They cut it close, even though they won by 8. Now, Dalvin Cook, I think Minnesota, their offense goes as Dalvin Cook goes. But I think it's a 2-pronged thing, and you mentioned the second thing as well. Dalvin Cook performs well, but they need a receiver every week to step up and complement Thielen. Thielen's going to do his thing, but they need to get somebody else that can take that side of the field and take some pressure off Thielen. And they did that with Jefferson the last couple weeks. Not the first couple weeks, though.
Right.
The last couple weeks they have. Now, I hope if he continues to play that well and Cook continues to play, I see upset brewing in Seattle.
Wow.
But also you have the X factor, the quarterback, Mr. Interception himself.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins. So, I think Minnesota can win this football game. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to watch. I still think Seattle takes it. Yeah, I mean, they've got the weapons. Minnesota's got the weapons. Obviously, the weakest link, if you look at the chessboard here, is obviously Kirk Cousins, even though he's got to manage it. But Seattle, on the opposite, their strongest point is Russell Wilson, right? So, yeah, man, it's going to be an evenly matched game when you look at it. Don't look at the records. If you look at it just from an offensive standpoint, I think it's pretty evenly matched. Yeah, I'm going to say Seahawks come out on top. Obviously, Vegas thinks that because they have them as a 7-point favorite. So,
but Joe, look, the Vikings lost to the Packers 43-34. They lost to the Colts 28-11, two good football teams, and the Titans 31-30, three playoff teams. And they beat the Texans, who are still a good, even though they're 0-4, they're not an 0-4 team. Minnesota is not a bad football team. You're right, they're not 1-3. And then you look at Seattle, like we said. What is Seattle? Are they a 4-0 football team? Probably. They beat the Falcons, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. Okay, but Seattle's probably a little better, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's an upset brewing in Seattle.
All right, you heard it here first, guys. Let's move on here. And when do you think Dalvin Cook goes down? What week?
I don't know.
You can't predict injuries, right?
Injuries.
I'm not wishing injuries. I'm just saying this is what I've seen 3 years in a row. What makes this year so different?
I don't know. It's a weird year, man.
All right, let's move on here. Monday Night Football game, Chargers versus Saints. Obviously, Herbert should be playing this game. 1-3 Chargers. I mean, they've lost Eckler. They, Kelly, he's having some fumbleitis issues there. He's fumbling the ball. I don't think Jackson's the solution there. The Saints, Michael Thomas banged up. Traquan Smith stepping up a little bit. Jared Cook was banged up. Kamara, the highlight. I think Kamara is the best player out of all the players on both these teams here. He's going to be a factor. Drew Brees looking lackluster this entire season. I mean, the Chargers put up a fight against the Buccaneers. They put up a fight. Will they put up a fight against the Saints? That's the question. I
mean, I told you it wasn't as close as you think. They had the pick six and the two big plays. You take that off the table and that matters. And that's what you need to do to win football games. You have to make big plays. I've learned that when I got into the business. You have to for good football teams will make big plays, whether it's a sack on 3rd and 5, a big 10-yard loss, a pick six. They made 3 really big plays last week, and the rest of the game they did not play well at all. So I think the Chargers aren't as good as that game last week at all. I think Herbert is okay. He's rookie growing pains. I think they're not going to have a good year. I think the Saints dominate. Kamara started off like a champ, and then he, in the first quarter, then what happened?
Right.
I mean, Drew Brees, no, he's not as bad as Phillip Rivers. He didn't take that much of a decline, but he's not Drew Brees.
Right.
So what is he, 40-something years old? I mean, he's not. I don't care. He's not. The proof's on the tape. On the tape, you just look at it. You know what I mean? If he wants to prove people wrong, they always want to do that. Just put up 350 and 5 touchdowns. The next 3 weeks. I don't care.
You can make an argument. I mean, there's no excuse, but you can make an argument that Michael Thomas is not there, right?
I know, but he's done it without him before. So okay, he just doesn't look as good throwing the ball, though.
No, he doesn't.
So, but you're right. I mean, you're missing your go-to guy. You can say, like, what does that mean? Listen, they're 7.5-point favorites. The Chargers, they're going to be like a feisty football team. They have a good defense, a decent defense, I think. Tampa Bay crushed them, but their defense isn't horrible. This is another coach, I think, coach and GM that should be gone. I just don't see anything working here. I don't like the mix here either. I mean, the coach is trying to start Tyrod Taylor eventually. I wonder if Tyrod gets healthy, he's going to come back and start. I don't know what the love affair with Tyrod Taylor is. He's terrible, but Herbert should just take the job the rest of the year and learn on the job. And then they need to clean house, new GM, new head coach. And then you have you can be excited for the future in LA for the Chargers.
All right. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting matchup because I want to see Herbert play, and I want to see if he actually does well against a pretty decent team. Yeah, I think the Saints come out on top, but I just see this breaking news about an hour ago when we started the show. I don't want to say the C word here, but a player from the Vegas has tested positive for the virus here. So I don't know who it is. I don't think it says, but I mean, maybe that Vegas game could be an issue now.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. I don't know if they're going to have issues or not throughout the rest of the year. There was a false positive for the Saints last week, if you remember. Man, I don't know. I think it's going to be very difficult season. I mean, I don't know. There were talks that some people wanted to take a few weeks off and make it a 12-game season.
Yep.
I really don't know. Stephon Gilmore, I think he's been positive, and I don't know.
I just heard as well here now, other breaking news as we're talking. And I like that we can kind of fit some of this news in here.
Yeah.
The show's happened. The Saints are considering evacuating to Indianapolis on Thursday because of Hurricane Delta, and even have discussed a contingency plan with the NFL to play their Monday night game against the Chargers there.
They should.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
What's Hurricane Delta? Is this something going on? I'm not.
No, I don't. I don't follow the weather. I'm not a weatherman. I live in Florida, South Florida. We have our share of hurricanes. A couple days before, if I see a long line at the gas station, I think a hurricane's coming, and maybe I'll get gas, or maybe I'll just start Ubering. I don't. I just go on what I see around here.
What's around the Mexico, Cancun area?
Yeah, that's going out towards the Gulf area, I guess. I mean, there's been a lot of hurricanes lately. A lot of disasters. So tsunamis, hurricanes, tornadoes. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's going to work its way up to New Orleans, I guess. They're going to get the
yeah, they seem
aftershock. I called it earthquake aftershock. Hurricane.
Yeah. Hey, what are you going to do? I mean, right now the weather's, hey, it's 90 degrees here.
You look like a weather. I think you could kind of pose for a weatherman, can't you?
I think my accuracy would be on point. But let me tell you something. You got baseball, right? You got baseball. Basketball, I don't really care about hockey, but baseball and basketball, baseball had a couple problems, and I don't think they were fans at the stands, but they were traveling. Basketball had none because they were in the bubble. Eventually, I think for the playoffs, the football, they should go to a bubble. But the problem is you also have a lot of guys on a roster in the NFL. You got 53 guys, plus you got another 16 on practice squad. That's 69 guys. Then you got personnel. You're almost at 100 guys.
And they're mashing together like this all the time.
Well, that's true, but in basketball they touch too. But I'm saying you got like 70 football players, and then all it takes is one guy to go to the bar one night or do something and bring it back. In basketball, you have 12, 15 players on a roster? I don't know. Just the odds are so much higher in football, and they're letting fans at the stands. And they're traveling. In baseball, they travel, but now baseball's in a bubble, and baseball controlled it. They had a couple games that they had to make up or something, but football is the highest risk because of those other factors that I've just mentioned.
Well, there you have it, guys. NFL Week 5 preview. You've heard it here. You've heard our predictions. You've heard our thoughts. You've heard the matchups. You heard everything. So there you have it, guys. The full NFL Week 5 preview. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Smash thumbs up. Let us know your thoughts, winners and losers, below on what you guys think from the guys we mentioned. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Love to hear your feedback. Tom, thanks per usual, man. I appreciate you being here.
Good. See you next week.
We're out, guys. Thank you.